And here comes the the most important part of the week 1. The most important part of the week 1 is this. We have this handle, and it doesn't have handle here, right? It's very interesting. So we usually had handle in our program so far. If you did the another Hello World program, it has handle, and this My Home has handle. This time it doesn't have one. Then what happens? This right there, how you say that? This mark, this greater mark, means that it inherits the object, right? The most basic elements in the MATLAB world. And when this handle is inherited, it enables a bunch of things. Only the case that it inherits handle we can compare. Means we can check whether it is equal or not. We can change values and so forth. So 99% you want to inherit handle like this. Then what happens if you don't inherit handle like this? Of course, you can use these utilities. What really happens in the beneath of this kind of the effect is that MATLAB recognizes it as value, not a reference. So here MATLAB recognizes My Home as reference class, and this My Home, no handle as value class. What's so important? What's so important being reference class? What's so important being value class? Actually, value class is designed to store values. Designed to store values kind of early. This reference class is just to hold and direct memory space. Let's see the effect of that. If you first, why don't you pause for a second and type in this My Home no handle class by yourself. You have to save this as My Home no handle .m, and that's you're going to another class file. And then let's continue the comparison. So here is a short experiment how a handle works. Here you are going to create two instances. First, H1. This is case with handle, and we are going to call it reference class. This case, no handle, right? And we are going to call it value class, okay? And its neighbors are H1 and H2, right? Okay, so H1 is coming from the handle, and H2 is not defined with handle. So neighbor, if you call the neighbor, you are saving as a cell array. And if you call this array, you can see that there are two instances, right? And by using this cell array index here, you can specify this neighbor 1 corresponds to this My Home, and neighbor 2 corresponds to this My Home no handle. And when you print status, is loop flat and door is closed. Loop flat and door is closed. If you go back to the previous slide set, you can see there is this function. And print out loop color is something and door is something. And its default value was red and closed. So that's what is happening here and here, right? And next, we have this paint loop and we have this paint loop. Means that we are going to paint this neighbor 1 and neighbor 2 green and green, right? And then it means that we are going to change the properties of these two classes. And let's see what happens. H1 case with handle, roof color is green and door is closed. Because we changed the property. Let's see the previous slide set. Paint loop and this color, and this is color loop. It changes to the color, right? So green is now new red, right? The red is gone and green has set. The neighbor 2, the value case, value class, right? Here, strangely, the loop color is still red, right? H1 works and H2 doesn't work, right? Because it's value class. It's value class. What is happening is that, so neighbor 1, if you direct the, if you use the neighbor 1, it means that it actually direct to H1, okay? And what happens to the neighbor 2? Actually, it direct to the copy of H2. That's what is happening here. So H1 works and H2 doesn't work. Okay? So that's problem. So if you see this, it's much more interesting. H1 equals the neighbor 1. Is equals equivalent test. Means that is 1 here is true. Here H2 and neighbor 2. Okay, it's not inheriting, no inheritance from object handle. There is no equal method here. So it's very limited to use the value class. Is there any way to change the value class, the properties of the value class? Actually, we can. We will see how to do that in the next slide set, right? Let me check. Okay, so there. So difference between the handle and value is kind of illustrated here. So we have neighbor set array like this, okay? So H1 is instantiated, H2 is instantiated. What happens here is that if you store H1 in this set array here, it just store this where this H1 is. So this class, and this class are same. But what objects are same. But what happens in the H2 case is this. Even though we save this neighbor 2, the value is copied. So this is new H2 prime, and this H2 prime is here, right? So this is reference case, reference class. And this is called value class. Okay? So whenever using the value class, please remember, if you are just directly changing the value of the properties of the value class, then it doesn't reflect your change. So that's a problem, okay? So usually what you want to use is this handler-based reference class. Okay, so what is happening here is that we have this equal this. We didn't have this one. We didn't have return value here and here. What is happening is that you change the properties and return the changed value class. Okay? You have to receive a return value here. And in the execution part, previously you just called here h2.paint loop green. You have to receive it now. And then you will overwrite the h2, and this new h2 will have a new property. What you're doing is creating another copy of the instance with changed properties, okay? So that's all I want to cover for the week 1. The rest part is very important. Please do remember the difference between the value class and the reference class, because that we are going to use this reference class many times in the future, right away from the linked list part. So that's all for the week 1, and have a nice day. Okay.